Unfortunately for y'all, this one's probably going to be a little hot because we got a couple of cars in the back that we're going to tape on, and it is kind of warm outside. So it may not be fun, it may not be necessarily very interesting, but it is very needed. Okay? We'll go over some things that hopefully will be a new idea for some of you. This is, like always, geared for the guys that do restoration work at their house, and also for production shops. Okay, this is always every time we do one of these classes. This is always about trying to make ourselves better at what we do. And the better you become, and the more you do it, the more efficient that you'll come. So it just comes with it. So masking, wow. Why does how we mask matter?
It's the first step in creating a finished
Absolutely. Okay. Some of us in here is a little bit older than some other ones. I'm probably in the top percent, of maybe a couple.
Don't you get over here.
Okay, so how we mask a car in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s is different than what we do now. Standards have continued to get tighter. What we will accept continues to get tighter. We want better, which is great. We just try to find ways to achieve that. Right. The products change. The expectations change. As y'all been to, some of y'all have been to a lot of my classes, we'd always talk a little bit about some history. The past. Holy crap. How many of you, no joke, how many of you has ever taped a car with newspaper? Absolutely, I know I have. That's what we were taught. Buy paper? Are you kidding?
What is the newspaper?
Yeah, exactly. Okay?
That
is me.
I was wondering how old he
That
was
is
in this
me.
picture.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. That was back when I was younger. You can see me complaining the whole time. Honestly, if you think about it, or look how the car, number one, yes, of course, it's newspaper. What else do you notice? Well, think about this. They've taken very little off of this car. They didn't de-trim a whole lot of anything. It was very common to tape up everything. Why would you take it off? You're just putting paint on it? Okay? Why do you think that changed? Why do you think we de-trim so much stuff now?
Pressure washers, automatic car washes.
Not only you have a hard time painting, trying to get around certain areas if the mirror's still on it. The bumpers are still on it. Back, you had chrome bumpers, all this stuff that all got in the way. You had potential for getting overspray on all of those parts. You also had a problem with you could not sand up to the edge good enough. You would sand it, you would tape it, and you would paint. That paint's not wrapping underneath it. Okay, where's it going to peel from first? Right there.
The lacquer would play. Lacquer would play.
It would. Okay, but if you have all of these places on a car that you know paint and all didn't get up under, what's it going to look like in 3 years? I mean, think about your parents and grandparents always talking about having to have their cars repainted all the time. Okay, those are a lot of the reasons for that kind of stuff. We have fortunately got better. So, up from the past. First thing we're going to talk about is masking for primer. I have a couple of front ends back here that I want some of you to mask like we're going to put some primer on some spots. That is a very sore subject for me. I run into a lot of times where this is not done correctly. Okay. Some of you that was here for the priming class, I think we talked about some of this some. Cover up everything. If it don't need primer on it, don't let primer get there. Not only does it look ugly, primer, if y'all remember the thing I had on there before, primer doesn't stick to anything that's not sanded. If you put primer on some of the areas that didn't need it, you now have to sand it before you put the primer on it, and then you got to sand the primer. You created extra work when all you had to do was cover it up. So I thought this was a pretty good example. You can see how this is back taped around. How many of you know what back taping is? Some of you do. All you're doing, and we're going to do a lot of this out there, you're taking 1.5 or 2 inch tape, and you're going around this wheel well lip, and you're just going in from the back side, and you're pressing it in tight, and then you're covering up. Nothing can blow out, nothing can blow in. Okay? You'll also notice all of this is covered. It didn't need anything there. The primer is feathered out into here. It doesn't go any further. You're not priming up to a line. If you put primer all the way up to a tape line, or even a hard rolled edge of paper, it will show up. You can't get rid of it. Not without sanding it, blocking it, just blocking the crap out of it. And then you're going to go back and reprime it. So you should have just done it right to start with. This part in here is going to be very short. Mask for paint. What all do you see? I actually took that picture this morning at a shop. Okay? Pretty simple. You notice you don't see paper. Very seldom in today's shops do we use paper. Okay? You may use it some in the jams, but you're generally never going to use it on the outside of the car. There's no need. Okay? How many of you painted back when you were taught that you put 18 inches of paper all the way around that before you put plastic? Okay? Do we know why? The paint would blow off the plastic. Pretty simple. Okay? Because it would. If it stayed on there for any length of time, it would blow off of it. Luckily, 3M, one of the first ones to actually come up with plastic with a coating on it on the outside so that when you paint gets on it, it stays on it. Okay? So it's hard. It was hard for me and a lot of other people to go straight to plastic. It didn't feel right. But if you'll notice, this fender is back taped. In the collision world, you're getting a lot of stuff where the front bumper and this is all that you're actually spraying on this vehicle. So this makes a lot more sense. So you can see how all of this is back taped, and then you can see the plastic is just straight up to it, one strip of tape around it. When it's that tight, nothing can go. We think of masking a car as just covering up, but it serves two purposes. That's why you don't want to mask something up that's real loose. Not only you're trying to keep overspray from going into areas that it don't need to be in, you're trying to seal up those areas so that anything in there does not blow out into the paint. So it's twofold.
A friend of mine who does a lot of restoration work, when he masks a window where there's no glass,
Right.
he uses the heat gun to shrink that.
That is correct.
And it takes all the
That is true.
flap out.
Yeah, because the more flapping around, the more you're in there spraying, the more crap you got going on. Let's face it, we were all taught, most of us older guys were taught that before you touched the car, you washed it, and you sometimes even pressure washed it, and you washed all the jams out and all that. That really doesn't happen anymore. I mean, that'd be like fantasy land. You're doing good to have time to just blow it out and take some cleaner, some water-based cleaner, wipe the jams out so the paint will stick. The tape will stick to it, and you got to go. So it has to be covered up and sealed up very well, or it's going to be full of trash. Okay? It's kind of crazy to look at a car. You see it come out of the paint booth and it looks good. You raise the hood while untaping it, and the little cowl vent up there is full of pine straw and acorns and all that kind of stuff. Like, how did that not blow all out into the paint? It's all about kind of how it was sealed up. Pretty simple. Okay. Specialty tapes. All right. We're going to talk about regular tape for just a moment. You'll notice that I got 3 different ones up here. We got good old yellow 3M. Kind of been a staple for years. Great product. Blue 3M. Explain that one.
So this is a high temperature, high humidity tape. We brought it over maybe last year, and everybody looked at it and thought that it was a new tape. It's actually been the most popular tape overseas for like 20 years. So really it wasn't necessarily a new product that we had to reinvent the wheel. We were just able to just bring it over to the U.S. market. Is it humid in Augusta and surrounding areas? It is, right? Right, none at all, right? So, right. So with the humidity, there's a lot more moisture in the air. You need a high humidity tape, and a lot of times this is the one that you would go to. A little more expensive than the yellow. Like price-wise, you're looking at yellow is going to be your most economical, and then blue is going to be in the middle price-wise, and then green is like the cream of the crop. When I was a painter, I was spoiled. I got to use the green. I love that tape. But each one kind of has its thing, right? So you'll notice when we pass these around.
I just want you to feel the difference in each one, because they do feel different.
Well, and a lot of people don't really think about it like that, but when you're masking up, you've already done the body work, you've already primed it, you're putting this in the booth. A lot of people don't take into consideration how important your masking tape is. Your masking tape, I don't want to say can make or break the paint job. Really, the person doing it can make or break the paint job more than anything. But I've seen other companies have a problem with paint not sticking to the tape and flaking off, similar to the way Larry was talking about plastic sheeting used to be before we started putting the coating on there to make the paint stick to it. I've seen other companies where when after you've painted the car, it's cleared, and you unmask it, it starts flaking off. Say you painted a fender, the fender's dry, it's not going to mess up that paint job, but you're filling up your paint booth with a bunch of little shards of clear, right? You see where it's lifted during the painting process. Maybe you go in, you spray sealer, it's got a lot of solvents in it, right? You spray base coat, it's got a lot of solvents in it. If it lifts up and exposes, we had that picture of that fender, and it lifts up, and now you've got paint or sealer or whatever it is all over the adjacent panel, all over the door, all over the hood. Now you're having to clean that stuff up. So you can tell when we pass this stuff around, they all have their own little niche. The yellow is just like the workhorse all the way around, do everything you want it to do. The blue is going to be more your high humidity when it's really sticky out. That adhesive is going to stick better on kind of a moisture-soaked surface, if you will. And then the green, to me, is all about conformability. When you're going around edges, and when it comes around, you guys just break off a little piece, and you'll notice that if you put it on the table and you try to just kind of like make a circle with it, the green is going to make that circle nice round, where this one's probably going to try to like bunch up on you and things like that. So tapes, a lot of preference. Different painters are going to like different things. Some people will swear the yellow's the best ever. Some people will say they hate it. It's all relative, right? And we were talking about this before. When we get down there and we start taping up, if there's a ton of different ways to tape these cars up. A lot of it is preference. At the end of the day, as long as the job comes out the way that you want it to, you did it right. But a lot of guys learn from the painter that they prepped with, that they grew up with or whatever, and usually that's why you see so many different ways to do it.
So when we talk about cost, you guys that actually have to pay for it yourself, not the shop, use the best that you can that you're comfortable with paying for. Okay? Probably wouldn't want to downgrade much less than, say, this one. They are plenty out on the market that all kind of people sell. Give some of them a try. Just remember that sometimes too cheap is just way too cheap. It's going to cost you in the end. You do want to be able to get it back off the car. None of this stuff, for any of you guys that do any type of water sanding, that no masking tape is meant to stay on the car for long term. By any stretch of the imagination. Okay? I mean, if it's on there for a couple of days, you need to go on and get it off. Okay? If it gets wet, it's going to be pure hell to get off. And there again, that's why it also hurts your feelings to pay a lot of money for tape, because it's only going to stay on there for a short amount of time. You're snatching it off and throw it in the trash. So it does hurt your feelings.
And that's one thing people don't think about too. It's one how when you're taping the car up, but how it untapes, how it unmasks. If it's leaving residue, I mean,
if it's leaving residue or it's coming off in splinters and all that, you're getting frustrated trying to get it off the car.
Yeah, scraping it with your fingernail.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So untaping it is just as important as how it tapes.
Absolutely. Part of the specialty tape is getting into, there again, remember we were talking about the older days when I was coming up painting. You painted a lot of all-overs. Not only did you mask up most of the trim, you probably didn't give a whole lot of care into where the overspray went into the door jambs. Not a lot, okay? That is a big no-no now. We know better, okay? So we're all trying to do things to make those door jambs, trunk jambs, and all that stuff look the best that they can. Some of y'all work in some shops where with your vehicle manufacturers that if you're painting the side, it's mandatory to take the doors off. And they paint the uniside with the doors off the car, everything, because there's no lines whatsoever. That's a lot of work to make sure that you don't have a line in there. And when I'm talking about a line, just when you open the door and you look in there and there's just a little rough edge where the car had been painted. Okay? But with some vehicle brands, that is mandatory, so just keep that in mind. The ones that are not, you have different variations of foam tape. We have foam tapes, we have hard edge tapes. These are some, and we're going to use these in the back. Those are made for some moldings that you can't get off the car. Say you have an old truck and it's got the rubber gasket around the windshield and it's still soft enough that it'll move a little bit, but you really don't want to have to take that glass out. You can hook that, it has an edge on it that you can tear it off into strips. You slide it in under it and pull it a little bit and then tape it down. And that gets you a little bit an area that clear or base coat, whatever, can get in behind it. And that way you don't have that edge. Okay? You try to get all of those things off if you can. Some vehicles it's not possible. Okay? We got two different brands up here. When we get in the back, I want you to use both. Make your own decisions on what you like or dislike about either one. And just learn how to use them. Okay? Foam. You'll notice that we have a flat one here from Norton. We have a round one from 3M. All of these companies, like 3M makes it in several different sizes. Have any of you ever heard horror stories about somebody using foam in the jams and it causing a mess? Because some of you may not have ever even heard of using the foam. Okay? Well, what we were talking about earlier was people like myself who went out and trained people, figured out that we were taught wrong on how to use the stuff from the beginning. It didn't matter what was written on the box. I mean, that would make too much sense. But we had reps from the manufacturers. Oh, this is how you do it. Well, it wasn't working. Finally, you find out why. What this is designed for is just so think about this. How many of you taped up jams? Kind of a pain, isn't it? Okay, so what are you're covering everything up with paper. You got a tape line all the way up to the edge, and you're having to try to mask it so that you hope you don't leave a really hard edge, and it just takes all these materials to make that happen. Some of these solves that to the point that you're only going to use a product like this. Okay? So if you open the door, just say we go to one of these vehicles out here and you open the door and it's up against the quarter panel. Instead of papering that all to death, you're going to go in here and take this and you're going to slide it in on the back side of that door to where the glue side sticks to it, but the white foam protrudes out the distance of the gap in the door jamb. Okay? And you're going to conform it in. You're going to shut the door. You're going to take something like a spreader and you're going to slide it in there to just make sure that that foam is loose enough. You don't want it really tight up against the jamb. It'll show the line. It needs to have a little flutter to it. That will keep you from having to mask all inside of there to death. Plus, it'll give you a soft edge. It will not always get rid of the edge, but it'll make it soft enough that if you need to, you can go back with some compound by hand and dress that edge down and make it look good. Okay? So those are some of the products that we're going to use back here that you don't want to really call it cheating the system. It's just things that we need to do to try to make the process streamlined. Okay? Any questions before we go back there and work? I told you this part in here was going to be kind of quick. That's it. Not real glamorous. It's tape. I actually had to sit through called it a dissertation from a tape company one time that lasted for probably about 8 hours of them telling us what trees they cut down to make the glue and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I really didn't need to know all that. You know, I just want to know if it's going to work or not. Okay? Any questions? In a production shop, they're typically baking the car. And as soon as it comes off bake, they're pulling it off and going. Okay? In a restoration guy's shop or something like what I'm doing at home, whatever, if you can give it a few hours, if it's not too bad, you can give it to the next day, but I wouldn't wait any longer than that. You just want to take it off. The paint can still be a little tender, but you just be a little careful. Yeah, you don't want it to, if you actually had one of these hard edge tapes or something like that, and you had a lot of buildup on it, you don't want it to be so hard that it's flaking off as you're trying to untape it and it's sticking to your paint and those kind of things. That's the big things. Okay? All right. We've done something a little bit different this time. If you notice, some of these guys are wearing a Palmetto black shirt. These are the guys that normally help in the classes anyway. So if you have a question, ask one of these guys.
Now remember, I just used the little tape for an example, or the little paper for example. You're going to want to use the bigger masking paper when it comes down to it.
So all the way off the end, but you can't go any further than here. From about this point up is where you're putting the tape. Okay? Once you have that done, tape it up here, just here. I want you to back tape all the way around here.
Some strong magnets that were coated with rubber. So if I was going to just do plastic and bend it over, I could actually take those magnets and I could magnetize it to the bottom of the car to ensure that when I'm on my last coat of clear coat trying to make it look beautiful, that I don't have that flutter come up and slap the side and make an ugly spot in my clear.
and it sticks really nice.
I used to, that's kind of like put a piece of electrical car wire in there and hold it out.
Yep. And literally, once you start one piece and you start moving it, just walk it back this way over here. Always let it overlap just a little. I didn't get a whole lot because I mean, it's waste all of it. But that literally, and like Jared was talking about,
You need to get in there and sand it.
that's what I was just fixing to say. Like Jared was talking about, once you get this mask, before you start doing your pre-clean on, start wiping everything down, take a Scotch-Brite and go around this edge and make sure that you've got an adhesive scratch in there.
Now, all you have is that little foam edge, and if you take your finger and push on it, take your fingernail and push in there, up against the fender portion, you see that it's not in there real tight. Okay? That's going to get you that little bit of flutter so that you don't have a hard edge. Now, no, don't rough. I want you to mash it in there. But my reason is, just take your fingers. It should be fine. I just want you to see how easy it is to push in. Well, Jason, looks like we're through with another class.
Yep.
What all do we do tonight?
A little bit of masking,
A little bit of masking.
priming and paint.
Okay. Didn't you have a couple of groups in the booth there taping up for some primer?
Absolutely.
How'd that go?
It went good.
Okay.
A little different than masking for paint, so
Yes it is. Yes, it is. Well, what do you think the rest of this group thinks about this class?
I don't know, guys. What do y'all think?
Oh,
Good.
that really wasn't real energetic.
That was not.
That was poor, but
Try it again.
yeah.
So, but we do want to thank everybody for coming out to these classes
Absolutely.
and supporting us and what we're doing. Again, I would like everybody to Auto Restomods on YouTube. Please support Jeff here with that, because he comes out and films everything for us. So if y'all could like and subscribe to him, I would greatly appreciate that also.
Okay. And also don't forget the people who pays the bill.
Palmetto
Palmetto
Paint.
Paint Specialty.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.